I just received a package all the way from France. What's inside? Well, let's take a look. This package contains a book from artist Jill Steenhuis. She told me in an email that she hoped that the packaging lived up to my expectations. She had seen my earlier video about some of the mishaps that I've had with eBay and Amazon where things have not been packaged properly. But she need not have been worried at all because her package is well packaged. You can see it has these little cardboard overhangs and it's well taped. Those overhangs act like shock absorbers that protect the book. So this is a good way to package things. Well done. It's nicely done. I interviewed Jill Steenhuis in episode number 34 of The Artful Painter. I have a link in the descriptions below. If I'm clever enough, you may actually see a card with a link to the YouTube version of the podcast. Now keep in mind, the YouTube version of the podcast is audio only. I do have mixed feelings about that. Some people call them fake videos because they have no video, it's just audio. And I do get a few thumbs down on them because I think people are expecting this full-blown video and they're disappointed to not find that video. All they hear is the audio. Never mind the fact that in each title and description of those podcast episodes, I have it clearly marked audio only. But hey, what are you going to do, right? I don't know. But you can also find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and several other podcast distributors where you can subscribe to The Artful Painter. And I do deeply appreciate Jill being on the podcast. And she told me that she sent this book to me because I had her on the podcast. So I'm very grateful for her appreciation. This is not something that happens too often. But yeah, here we go. So this is the book. It looks like it also has a calendar in it. Wow, that's nice. I wasn't expecting that. The book I was expecting, but the calendar not. That's a plus. And you can see she has it inscribed to Carl, a gift, Jill Steenhuis. Very nice. This is beautiful. And there you can see a painting that she has done of Cézanne's mountain, Mont Sainte-Victoire. And that mountain is very important. It plays an important role in Jill Steenhuis's career, and you'll hear about that in the podcast episode that I recorded with her. But you can see her paintings they're just so exuberant and vibrant and full of colors. This is a hefty book. It has a feel of quality. It's large. It's 176 pages, I believe. And you can see that I'm measuring it. This is 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches. I really like the square format. It's a beautiful format that allows Jill to showcase her art very beautifully. And then when you spread it out, it has this beautiful rectangular format too that allows more room for the art to be displayed. Now here's an inscription that she wrote. She says, to Carl, art exists to make one taste the eternal. May this book give you a glimpse of eternity, and may it inspire you to come paint with me in X. Thank you for believing in me enough to do a podcast on The Artful Painter. Thank you, Jill Steenhuis, May 2020. That's beautiful, Jill. I really appreciate that. And I do hope that my wife and I could go one day to Provence, and I'll certainly take you up on that offer to paint with you one day. The title of Jill's book is Art, Soul, and Destiny, an Artist's Journey from America to Provence. And it's truly an amazing story when you hear her talk about it, her journey to Provence. She was originally from Atlanta, Georgia. This is where she was born. Yet when she was just 8 years old, her mother died. And her mother's death left this huge void in her life. But being creative, that was something that helped fill a part of that void. Certainly nothing can take the place of one's mother, and that certainly had a profound effect on her. But her father also had a profound effect on her, and you can see here the book is dedicated to her father, and that's a portrait of him. There's a funny story about that, and you'll hear it in the podcast as well. But when she turned 16, she was hoping to get a car. She was hoping her father would give her a car, but instead he gave her a book on Cézanne. What was he thinking? She wanted a car. But he was a good dad to her, and in time she began to appreciate that book, and it really helped her. And by the way, this picture here, this is her house in Aix-en-Provence. Just beautiful paintings, absolutely beautiful. Look at that. But anyway, in time she did end up going to Provence to study there, with her father's blessing. It wasn't easy. They had some challenges there, but she did go, and she's been there for well over 30 years. As you look at these paintings, one thing you notice is they're just full of life and motion. And you'll hear her talk about this in the podcast as well, but she begins each painting session with a warm-up. She'll carefully lay out all her colors. She has this large white PVC palette that her husband made for her, and she likens it to a piano. And, many artists use what's called a limited palette, but she likes to call it an unlimited palette of colors. And because of having that unlimited palette, she has access to all 88 keys of her piano, as it were. And then she has the large canvas. She puts that on her easel. And then she looks around. She's studying nature, the surroundings, the smells, the sights, and the beauty there. And one of the things that really struck me about her, she's very determined to not use photos in her art. That is a big no-no to her. Now, I'm not saying that every artist should not use photos, but in her case, it works because her approach to painting is what gives those paintings of hers such a unique voice, such a unique look. It's because of her sticking to that approach to painting. And she likens it to a dance with nature, and it's really funny when you see her in some of the videos. I mean, it's like doing a tango. There's this slow buildup, and then whack, she hits the canvas, and then she's just flying through there. It's really fascinating to see her paint, but you can see the years of experience of doing this. By the way, this painting here, I love this painting. It's similar to the one that I used for the podcast episode that I used for her episode. It's not the same one, but it's similar. But you can see the almond leaves falling. And that's something that you see in her paintings is just that hint of motion. There's motion through it. So that's really good. I think it's beautiful. But anyway, this is a truly beautiful book. If you'd like to learn more about her, her son, Jimmy Ruffato, he has produced a nearly hour-long documentary about his mother called Painting the Invisible. He spent 3 years making this beautiful film about his mother. It truly is a labor of love on his part. It's available on Vimeo on demand for only $15. I think that's very reasonable. I've seen the trailer to it. I haven't seen the full documentary, but it looks beautiful. Now, I was introduced to Jill Steenhuis about 3 years ago by Lillian Ansley, who is a co-founder of the Olmsted Plein Air Invitational based here in Atlanta, Georgia. But anyway, I'm grateful to Lillian to introducing me to her. Be sure to check out Olmsted Plein Air Invitational. This year they had to reimagine it because of the pandemic, but they've done a great job with that, and you can see some of Jill's entries into that event for this year. Now, I will mention that her book is not available on Amazon. You can only buy it direct from her website, artinprovence.com. It's $85 plus $8 shipping, which I think is quite reasonable, especially considering that it's coming from Provence. And if you think about it, her book is really comparable in cost and quality to some of the other books that I have purchased from artists that I know, and their books are in my library, such as Lynn Schmill's Authentic Nature, Kevin McPherson's Conversations with Nature. Then there's Richard Schmid's Alla Prima 2, that is, and it's paperback, and it costs considerably more. So I think that her book is a good value overall. So check that out. You can buy it on artinprovence.com. I'm very grateful to Jill for sending me this remarkable book and her calendar. I look forward to taking my time immersing myself, looking into her beautiful paintings and reading her writings there. This is a keepsake that I will always cherish in my art book collection. Thank you, Jill, for this book.